morning, everyone. And I am Ryo Hazuki 81. Yes. So, yes. Here's what I have to say. There is, there's history in my life that would correlate and would have relevance to my past that makes me who I am today. Now, what I'm trying to say online is that yes, there are people in my history, and this is the purpose why I have this YouTube channel. Now, this YouTube channel is primarily about uh, the moves of Shenmue, but it's also been primarily about the history in going back in my lifetime in retrospective events that have some real correlation to the truth about this Shenmue that, you know, like, how to say it, I don't like to just expose people, okay? So, you know, it, it just like, you know, exposing people, saying their names, first and last name is going too far. And maybe even saying people's first name could be going too far. It's hard to know what I should do because, um, you know, people have to live their own lives, and I have to live my own life. And those people who are like the perpetrators in my history, some of them are having to live their own lives. But the problem that I've been having myself personally is the fact that, I was awarded for earning for, well, see, there's two different ways to look at this. Okay. I was awarded a certificate in my karate class, like everybody gets in a karate class, a karate certificate, and then they get, whatever it describes the certificate as. But this is also like, it's also become like a business agreement in a manner of speaking. It was supposed to be a business agreement too, but it never was that. It was just an undocumented certificate that was like irrelevant and useless to me because the karate teacher did not enforce the business agreement enough to, he never reached out to me, contacted me. But this is what I think happened here. I think that, um okay, going back 30 years ago in retrospective, there's this girl I knew from karate class, and I remembered her again finally going into my future like 27 or 26 years later. So if this is 30 years ago, back in July when I started training karate, that I did started to do the fight choreography for Shenmue and Tekken, then, here's the problem I have. Now, I'm not going to even say first names in this broadcast, but I am going to give reference to people through the description of my history. You know, there's a girl that was in the class, and she had a brother in the class, and they were kind of making problems in the class, in my opinion. They were making some problems for me, trying to stir up things. Um, I think it was not just that. I think the same girl had feelings for me at the time because I remember her that way too. But a lot of girls, females, whatever, women, um, a lot of girls had feelings for me, when I was in my teenage years, and I was a cool teenager, cool kid. I looked like a man, military man at age 14. So I didn't really look like a teenager. I looked like a Marine. In my opinion, I looked like a military guy. The body was simulating looking like that. That's what made Ryuzuki look this way too. He looked like he's from the military. Uh, yeah, I can remember, the way I would dress. I would wear a military jacket that was a suede jacket, brown leather, and I would wear Hanes t-shirt, Levi's jeans, Reebok shoes, and I would also carry around a navy blue or a dark forest green um, military surplus bag. Yes, yeah, that's the way I'll describe it. There's a store called Harry's Army Surplus in Dearborn, Michigan, and that's where I purchased the bags from. And yeah, so so there's that, and then there's this aviator brown suede jacket that I purchased from a store in not too far from where I'm living. Um, it was called Montgomery Ward, but mostly they've closed down their stores and they're no longer very much existing. Um, okay, so we have that in the history I'm describing here. Let me get back to the people here. Now, there's the karate teacher that trained me, that gave me this degree. There's three other teachers along with the primary karate teacher. I won't say their names. Uh, so there's four teachers altogether. Like in Tekken 7, if you find this, you know, I don't want to give all the correlations because people think I'm nuts, but um, it just, the conversations I had with this teacher in the changing room after class and before class, outside of class sometimes, outside our karate dojang, you know, I remember this guy a lot. And I remember some of these things when I think back in meditation. Sometimes these memories are um, very relevant. They're very real to me. I remember them very well, and I can't forget these things. They're very existing in my mind, very much, like, so yeah, I'm just like a guy that, I did these martial arts and I can still do them pretty well, but, it's going to take a lot of training to get me to that point where I could like be a credible, uh, you know, martial artist today, which takes training and lifestyle changes that requires money. So that being said, yes, getting back to the people, there's the primary karate teacher that trained me that year, 30 years ago. Um, then after that, the next following year, I didn't train there. I I fell to mental illness, anxiety, depression problems. Um, didn't know what to do, how to resolve those problems the right way. I don't know why I never figured that out. I mean, it's probably going outside the basis of you know, what was taught to me to to conduct my behavior, um, you know, there's a fine line between a man and a woman that, they both have their needs. But I didn't understand that going back even that far in my history. I don't know why I never did. Just never was open to it enough, I guess. I was too absorbed in the martial arts, too absorbed in myself and my talent, and I never really realized that, you know, it's like playing that song when a man loves a woman, or it's just the need for the opposite uh, gender. Yeah. So, uh, you know, um, there's this history, and I can't escape my past. I can't forget my past. I'm stuck in my past because I'm a guy that's, you know, I'm here, and what am I going to do with myself? How am I going to make money? How am I going to have a living? How am I going to uh, support myself? How am I going to support someone else? If I meet someone one day, how am I going to do all these things in my life? Maybe my spouse is not in this country. Maybe she's in another country. See, these are all different, ideas and subjects that come to my mind that I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. And I have to be, in understanding with myself that, what am I good at? What can I do? What is my future going to be like? Because, uh, I've got to do something with my life too. And yeah, that's the problem I got. I've got to make sure people understand me and I understand myself, uh, and just keep going from there. So yeah, what I'm trying to say about myself is that now I'm talking about the history here. So getting back on the subject here now, what went wrong? What went wrong in my history? Now, um, and what I want to really make this broadcast subjected about and themed about is, uh, should they be exposed? Should they be exposed? Should those people in my history actually be exposed? Because I know people have questions about Shenmue and about Sega and about maybe even Tekken. And we can go back in history and find out, why did Sega go bankrupt? Why did Shenmue 3 take so long to hit the shelves and people start buying it on a different platform of a system? Why did, you know, why do we have to wait so many years? Why was Shenmue 3 like taking so long to finally, you know, be for sale? And why is there, like, um to me, to be honest, I'm kind of disappointed with Shenmue 3 because Shenmue 3, it's not really like it's not like the video game doesn't really glorify the martial arts, the fight choreography, the talent, the power of this Ryo Hazuki enough. Because why? Uh here's a secret. My karate teachers don't want people to know that they used my fight choreography from training a few years ago to make Shenmue 3 also. And they're not just going to tell you that. That's their secret. They have their secrets, those dons. I shouldn't just say it like that, but I've heard them say that in class. We have our secrets, they say. But I'm just saying that because I'm trying to figure these guys out. There's four of them, and I'm trying to figure them out. They don't call me, they don't say nothing these days, so I'm trying to figure them out, really. And um, here I am with these questions. I can't sleep through the night sometimes. I've got my problems. I've got things going on in my life that would be resolved if I had income coming in, money from what was supposed to be my royalties. Okay. If I was supposed to have royalties for doing this fight choreography for Shenmue, if I'm originally supposed to have that, see, all this teacher said, this is the problem. This karate teacher says to me, Ryan, this karate certificate, this is yours, and this is all I'm going to give you. Notice he said, and this is all I'm going to give you. That's all you have. And it's yours to claim. You have every right to claim it. Now that I don't have that certificate in my possession, it left my room for so many years and it's lost and gone again. So now that this certificate is gone, let me turn off this air conditioner. So yes, I live in a room. Well, I live in a house, but let's turn off that air. Okay. So what I'm saying here is, yeah, that certificate is gone. It was in my room here, this room here. It was in this room for years. It was from Melvindale, Michigan. The certificate, I had it there for 7 years. No, wait, no, 4 years. Then I moved there from here, and then it went missing a few years after I moved in here. It went missing when I dated this girl. Okay, this same girl that's in my karate class. She actually asked me for this degree. She asked me, she says, can I have your degree? But what I'm realizing is that she was coming from a background that had, she had financial need a lot at the time. But, well, I might not have had financial need at the time like she did or whatever, but that's not my problem. And what my problem is now is that, I had earned royalties. I had earned a degree. I don't get compensated for it because she took my money, along with everyone else that's involved in this scheme of my karate teacher. You see, this karate teacher in the United States, Subakdo Mudokwan Federation, knows all about the royalties I was supposed to earn as Ryo Hazuki. Who's Ryo Hazuki? He's this guy on the wall right here. Don't mind the mess in my room. I don't just have someone to help me clean it up sometimes, because I don't have money is all my problems now, because I made a choice to see. Ironically, what happened is this girl comes from Melvindale, a community called Melvindale. Well, no. I'm from Melvindale, Michigan myself. I grew up in this community called Melvindale, Michigan. It's becoming more like Dearborn and maybe Dearborn Heights, Melvindale, Michigan now, in some ways. I'm born Michigan, born in Detroit, raised Southeast Michigan. but I grew up in this community of Melville, Michigan most of my life. And then I moved from there at age 18. I moved to Riverview, Michigan when I'm turning 18. And then I come here, and actually I've got, I even have a neighbor that is related to this same karate teacher that they were in a class too, in that karate class 30 years ago, that they have all witnessed my martial arts talent that made this Ryo guy that see the jacket, they made him what he is. They made me what I am, what I'm supposed to be. All those moves I've done. So, you know, they don't compensate me for that. It's not just the moves, it's the talent that they had so much confidence and faith and high expectations for me. They had high hopes and expectations for my life, for me to even go to Japan. Like the movie Paper Tigers, you can see that Danny earns a degree and he's supposed to go to Japan. But then his Sifu didn't want him to go there. It's a lot like that, in a way. Now, at the very least, I think, and here's the problem. I wish I had that degree. It would be sentimental to me now, but I don't have it. There were maybe even a few copies of it, and I don't know what happened to it. And I guess I'll never see it again. But the biggest, see, like, the problem I have with this, not having this degree, is that um, I had no ties to the contracts, to the royalties. There was business agreements with that degree, and I guess to be honest here, I didn't realize at the time the importance of being involved with this in a business arrangement. Really, I was just like thinking that at the time I was always going to be this way, like Ryo Hazuki. I was always going to have this talent, and I was just going to get a whole lot better in the martial arts. That's what I kept thinking. Like my talent's gonna keep growing, like exponentially. Just get really, really, really good in the martial arts. And not that I'm not really good in the martial arts at the time, but just get a whole lot better. I just thought I'm just gonna get stronger, bigger, stronger, and everything else. It didn't work out that way. Um, and I'm thinking it's because of my misunderstanding and beliefs of religion and science, you know, like different things about my life and health. I didn't understand about, religion versus like science. Different reasons for that, but it's just like see when you're a martial artist, you have to think like a scientist and a health fanatic. To really maintain your health, you have to do things that uh maybe not like they may like contradict they may contradict what you believe in a religion. If say like you come back like from a religious or spiritual kind of a background, there may be things that don't agree with your religion or your spiritual beliefs in the martial arts that you have to follow through science and health. And if you don't follow those beliefs and that go in coherence with science, you're going to fail as a martial artist growing up in your adolescent years, in your teen years, in your young adult years. You're not going to make it. So that's one of the things that I think, honestly, um, I don't think it's my fault. To be really honest, I don't really think it's my fault. But because the reason I say that is because I don't think it's my fault. It's because maybe it's also my background. Like I'm just looking to see what's back there, but maybe it's like my 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 own family background that I can't just help if I have a certain belief system about my life that well, it's not, and it doesn't really agree with anything in life. It just doesn't. It's such an old context that you're following in a book or whatever, and it might be a special book, holy book, but it just, if it doesn't agree with science, you know, you're only human. You're not like a supernatural being. You're not like a supernatural, something with wings that you just fly around everywhere and do everything. No, you're human, and you got to follow the life of being a human being as a man. I didn't understand that. So that's probably where I failed too. But maybe, like, how to say it, if you take, for instance, has anyone ever heard of, uh, like the Scott Atkins? Now, I did watch a program on television that does claim that his mother was always, always very supportive of the martial arts, of he uh, what he believes, what he does, what it's supposed to represent him as a martial artist. So he had good support to me and my belief, you know, my faith. I think he had really good support as being a martial artist. A lot of this comes from you too. You're supposed to pick up on this yourself and train yourself to be a martial artist. Now, if you don't have good support from family and friends in your background, uh, and you can't do this on your own for some reasons, like it really can matter. It can affect your ability to be a great martial artist, and it can affect your ability to achieve your goals in the martial arts, whatever they may be. Maybe my goal would be to be a fireman, or a policeman, or a EMT guy, or all three of those. You see, maybe my goal would be to be a martial arts movie actor, or an athlete, or whatever it is in life. But all these things in life, those people may have martial arts backgrounds that they have to maintain. They have to sustain a certain kind of quality of life with that. You can't just be that, because you have to sustain and live to certain. You have to adhere to certain standards in your life that would make you be that, and make you be a really, really good athlete, make you be a really good martial artist. But see, when you're not living that kind of life, if you don't have the money to live that kind of life, or if you don't have the right kind of support to live that kind of life, it may just take a seat. This is what I really think. I think actually that if I don't have the money to buy those things, if I had strong support from family and friends to be this way a long time ago, I could have been this way anyway. But I don't have that, you see. And now that I'm even middle aged, I need both money and support still, but everybody needs all those things, even if you have money. So this is why I earned the royalties, because I was supposed to be a martial arts movie actor. I did inform this karate teacher of this, but he doesn't really acknowledge that, because he gave me the degree. That's all he gave me. And I took care of it for a lot of years. Then it was moved around and disappeared from my room, and it's just gone now. I can't even, I can't trace it. I don't know what happened to it. So that's the problem I got. I called him on the phone and I asked him to make me a new degree, but he doesn't seem to have much interest in doing that. So, I understand he stopped training, he left the federation, and he's moved on with his life. So, naturally, he just doesn't really have much interest in helping me with that. He does care about me, maybe perhaps a little bit, because he remembers me, but this is coming from uh, this guy was like a valedictorian teacher, karate teacher, a valedictorian student is what I meant to say. So he's like a valedictorian honor student, and he's a karate teacher, and he's in the police forces, as far as I know. Not sure, so I don't want to say his name, but it just I don't like to even say he was in the police. I don't even like to say he was in that. I don't even like to say any of our teachers were in the police forces or law enforcement. But here's the problem. They don't communicate with me at all. I never got to know them really very much at all. And this is part of the reason why I don't have like this bond and certain uh, relationship with my karate teachers that I should have somewhat of at the very least, which I don't have that. But I do have a history of being this Ryo Hazuki in my history. And, you know, it's just the facts are there about this Shenmue in my history. And you can see that I'm doing the moves. So the facts live on in my moves. The history lives on in my moves. There's real truth to what I'm talking about with this Shenmue. Um, like there's this these people in my history that have, they know about this. And let's get back on the subject here. So I want to talk about this girl I dated. You know, and I want to say it's not that I'm picking on her, and I know she's a lady. Well, all women are supposed to be ladies, They're supposed to conduct their behavior like a lady. Supposed to. But not that they always do, and men don't always be gentlemen. So I'm going to just say that, I know she's, a lady, but the fact is that she she has been in my life, but she was also in that karate class before she was in my life. Now, she never told me when I asked her face to face, and she would look down like she doesn't know me, like she's an ostrich to my face. That I asked her. I said, "Do you know those karate teachers? I think I remember you from that class." I won't say her name. I think I remember you from that class. And she would just look down. She would just not say that I know those teachers, Ryan. I remember you. She didn't make it relevant, real to me. She didn't let me know that. And so this is the problem. There was a business agreement that was lingering with me and those teachers from 1995. There was a business agreement that was lingering because I was someone that was supposed to be given royalties for doing the moves for Shenmue. Now you see, that's the problem I have. I'm a big fan of Shenmue. In 1995, you see, when Shenmue was released in 1999, I was I was told that they were going to use my moves in 1995 to make a video game. I had this agreement with my teachers in the changing rooms after class. And when this game finally came out in the year 1999, I'm uh I'm impressed with this video game. But I was always thinking like, you know, hey, that's the way I would dress. I would used to wear a brown suede jacket. I never put a tiger on it. Uh, I just remembered that's the way I would dress. And this guy reminds me of myself a lot, even though he's Japanese in the video game of Shenmue. You see? Wow, this guy's face looks like my face. I didn't say nothing, but I didn't say nothing about he dressed the way I used to dress. I didn't tell anybody that. But here I am playing a game of Shenmue. And I'm playing a game. I remember doing some of these moves somewhat, but could it be my own moves? You see, I never thought of that. But then when I finally realized, when I trained karate again, in the year 2017, no, yeah, 17, I trained again, and then, um, see, I remember doing those moves, but like, okay, what happened? I trained again, and my other karate teacher asked if I still have that certificate, that degree, and he says, "You know the one that had royalties on it?" And I just lit up like, like, what? Royalties? Oh, now I remember now. I had those conversations with my teacher in class. Yeah. So that's what I remember. There was supposed to be a business agreement because he asked me for the degree, the one with royalties on it. Royalties on the degree. Now, this degree was taken from my room in my possession, and I don't know who's got those royalties, who's claiming that. But you see, the people that are, let me say this, there's a neighbor that I don't dare to say nothing to because, well, the police have it set up that maybe they have it set up that if I even say anything to them, I'm like I'm the bad guy. I don't know. I don't really know, but the neighbor is related to to this teacher. Okay, now I think those royalties are all handed out, given to who was deemed worthy of the royalties and other people's mindset, beliefs, whatever. They gave those royalties away to who they thought were worthy of that. But I'm really the rightful recipient of those royalties because those are my moves. That's my history, being this guy in class. But that's not respected in Michigan. You see, it's not respected because other people took my money. Now, I don't want other people's money if they've been claiming it and supporting their families, supporting themselves with it necessarily. But I think I really deserve a whole lot of money, a whole lot of recognition, a whole lot of respect in life for this degree that was supposed to, that was all I had. And then it was stolen from me. It was taken from my room, my possession. And the royalties that were on that degree are gone away to other people. And I don't think that's right. So I don't think that's right that that's gone from my possession. It's just missing. And well, that's what my claims are, you know. And then how can I prove this in court? You see, how can I even have any court hearing? I do have the identification card that's described as Bento Gand that proves that I trained karate that year. Now, that proves there's a degree with it. So the question would arise with that identification card, uh, where's the degree? Where's the missing degree? Itchy, itchy this morning. So the question would arise, where is this degree? If I have that identification card from 30 years ago, the question would arise, okay, where's the other piece? Because that identification card always comes with the degree, the certificate that we earn in class. Now, that's what I'm missing, the degree. It's an undocumented degree that the karate teacher made, and maybe that's the only copy he made. Maybe he has another copy in somewhere. Maybe they have another copy of that degree. Maybe they can find it somewhere. But the master, okay, the Sabam master, the president of the federation says that they cannot find that degree in manual records. Now maybe they have it. Someone has that degree, and they're not saying they have that degree somewhere else. Maybe they have reference to that degree. I was told that there's a possibility of that degree being in an IT cloud from an attorney, but now he doesn't claim that. So uh, I'm thinking that there's a possibility of that degree lingering out there somewhere. And they can just remake that degree. And not that I would get everything on that degree now, because I was supposed to be given a house, I was supposed to be given vintage toys, I was supposed to be given royalties from that, and I think copyrights and trademark rights and that. I was supposed to be in a contractual agreement somewhat because of that degree. But I never came back to train at that dojang. See, there was this year, 1995, that I trained, and then I met this person from, well, this girl was in that class, but I think the only reason she came to Riverview High School was to claim on something of to claim on that degree if she could, and she did. She did meet me, and we met each other, and that it worked out that in their favor. They claimed that. I believe they claimed that those royalties, and I never claimed that. So that's the problem I have. There's a real legitimate law firm that's involved with this. They're related to the karate teacher, and I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say, but that's my legacy. Those are my moves. I did karate. I got the proof in my room right here. So how is someone going to tell me that that's someone else that did this? How are they going to say there's someone else that did these martial arts, these moves in their history? How are they going to say they have a military history and did this? Because this is a military training that I've done. How are they going to say that someone else did this when I got the proof in my history, when I'm doing the moves right now on my YouTube channel? How are they going to claim that, disprove that? I don't think they can do that because I'm already telling the truth. I'm doing the moves. I may not be doing all the moves for Shenmue, but they have recorded my proof of me doing these moves. That's another thing about this. I want to know where the proof of this, more than the royalties as much, but I do want to claim royalties, but more than the royalties, I really want to see that proof again on VHS. If that is out there lingering around in some Sega archive or, uh, if these karate teachers have this proof, I really want to see that proof again because that proof lives on in my mind. It lives on, but the proof to see it for real on captured and video footage, that would be really something. Even to see it in 1995 technology, even today, from VHS. You see, because at that time they didn't even have DVD or MP3 that they could record with a phone or uh, or DVD technology, whatever. They, nowadays they can just record this proof with a phone, with a cell phone. But back then, we had to have big, bulky VHS cameras. And they had a camera crew that recorded that, I remember. And then they would leave sometimes class. Then they'd come in and leave. And that's like a big deal that I was doing a really good martial arts performance. And I remember them coming in just to record me. But they don't say that. Those teachers don't say that because, well, this is exposing the truth about the history of Shenmue and the history of this Tekken, because they may be Jin Kazama also from that year. And no offense to John Fu. I'm just saying his name because he's, I like John Fu as Jin Kazama also. But, this is another thing about this. My shoulder condition. They put that in the Tekken movie, like John Fu, the actor, or Jin Kazama, whatever. He has a part in the movie of Tekken 1 where his shoulder gets dislocated, and then they put it back into place. But that's what happens. See, I have the same condition because they're copying me. And the year Tekken, the movie came out, was the year 2009. I had the shoulder dislocated from a car accident in the year 2005. They're copying me. These teachers are copying me. I know they are. I gave them permission to use me and copy me. I did tell them that in the year 1995 to use me and copy me. I told them that in the changing room, and they did just so. But what do I get out of this finally? You see, I should get something positive out of this finally. Hello, this is part 2 of the video, the first video, and yes, so so they copied my fight choreography. They also made this character Jin Kazama from my training too, and it's also part of my medical history that I believe has helped to make that character, Jin Kazama. Yes, because it's coming from also like a psychiatric history too. And yeah, so like I said before, I battled depression, anxiety in my teen years, and yeah, so that's all true. But now, what I'm trying to do now is to conclude this broadcast pretty soon. Um, Maybe in a few minutes or less, more or less. But I'm wanting to get this information out there because it needs to be exposed online somewhat. Because this is what made these video games. Like my history is what made these games, and that's what I believe should be should come to light, should be exposed online because um, it's only right that I would be credited for this. Something good would happen for me. Not that I can't really guarantee or know if anything will come of this, but I do believe that I should be claiming this online in a way, in a manner of speaking. Now, I don't really like to say names. Um, Sometimes I don't think there's anything wrong with saying people's first name. Sometimes now I may change people's first name and just say different names of people, but you know, but then they really have a different name. That's their first name. It's probably better to do that. Give them like encode people's names with a different name. Sometimes it's hard to know how to do this when you're going through problems, you're going through stress in life and that. And then, I do tell the legal authorities about what's going on. And I'm thinking, well, maybe I should just say this stuff online too. But, like what I mean is, how long am I going to keep trying to protect people's identities when I have to look out for my own life, my own identity, my own history, my own legacy? I can't keep looking out for other people's lives and identities when they don't even care to respect me for what I did. They don't even care to respect me for who I'm supposed to be. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. I'm Ryo Hazuki, 81.